We're here at Mark Alina's and we are interviewing another artist from the area, and I would say national artist actually. You know, at least a national, maybe more. I don't know. And we're here at Mark Alina's, so we want you to contact Mark Alina anytime for T-shirts. We've got all the stuff on our website. Look at all the stuff on the website. So we're going to start right now. Eric, tell us your name, your full name, please, sir.
Eric Ondina.
Okay, and when were you born?
When?
Where?
Where? I was born in Sacramento, California, 1988.
Sacramento, California. Now, what were your parents from California?
Yep.
All right, so how did they end up in Florida?
Around 2001, Dad's job got a transfer, and of all places, we ended up in Tampa, Florida.
Okay. So, do your parents have anything to do with art? Are they very artistic of any type?
No, they have made a very safe and supportive life for me by being in insurance, and I'm very grateful for them for providing that for me. But nothing really in the creative field, so I'm a bit of an anomaly.
But they're big supporters. They supported you in art from
Yes.
very early age.
Yeah, very much so.
So, what's your first memory of art? What's the first thing you remember from art? A painting, a sculpture, a comic book, anything? What's your first real memory of art?
I think in the second grade, like, I don't know, just like making, drawing, and people gathering around being like, hey, wow, like, oh my god, like, what, can't you guys do that too? And, you know, I think it's always been a way of really, you know, standing out from the, amongst the peers, but, you know, it's also something that is very satisfying and gratifying for me, and I think, you know, those two inputs have really made me encouraged to pursue it as a career.
All right. So, when you were in grammar school and you were drawing, what I mean, did you start with drawing, or what else did you do? Anything else?
Yeah, drawing, I mean, was pretty much the start of it. I feel like most of my drawings growing up as a kid were mostly, you know, technical or less creative and less expressive and more just, you know, oh, here's a comic book guy, or here's a creature, or here's this or that, or, you know, maybe there's a lot of like hopeful, like in, you know, maybe proto-architectural engineering. Like I really loved buildings and cities and like imagining them, and this was when, you know, computer systems were not that great, so where SimCity 2000 started, I would just like come up with so much more on my, you know, I only had 30 minutes a day on the computer, so I had to come up with the
What do you
rest.
mean by 30 minutes?
Time limited. So,
really?
So yeah, you know, like that, you know, inspired me. Well, if I can't do it on, you know, stuff like that would be one of the impetuses for me to like just keep drawing and drawing. But, you know, later once I started to get really into art and what it means as a reflection on society and like a means of expression, you know, its cultural significance, I started to appreciate it a lot more as a means of expression, and it started, and once I, you know, recognized that and started to nurture that within myself as what I can express, I think that's when, you know, painting actually became an art form, not just a cool thing that I like to do.
Mm-hmm. Can you remember your first painting you were happy with?
No.
No.
No, I don't think it.
It'd have been a long time ago.
Not really.
So
maybe it'll come. Maybe it'll come.
So, what drove you into being an artist? What do you think really was your motivation? Other than people liking what you did you feel like it would complete you in some way, or?
Yeah, I always thought, you know, this is just my form of self-actualization, of gratification, and it's how I, you know, if I had $1 million, this is what I would be doing. And luckily I've been able to, you know, provide for myself in a way that I'm able to do this, but you know, it's not without its difficulties, you know, like the economy as it is, it's hard to balance both career and this, and I've tried my best to make a career out of art, and be able to support myself with my art. But yeah, I suppose it's just I couldn't really see myself doing anything else.
Okay. So what you did, you got your BFA first, correct?
Yeah,
And did you get that at USF?
FSU.
FSU, Florida State.
Go Knowles.
Oh, I didn't know that. So how did you end up at USF?
It was one of the schools that accepted me, and they offered a full fellowship. So yeah, I wasn't going to debt for art school, so I at least had that amount of like good sense. But you know, it's also a good school, and like its faculty has, I think, really permitted me a huge amount of input that allowed me to. It's the openness of the program also allows a lot of, you know, exploration and dissection of art and like your personal voice, and it's, you know, they really push the conceptual, and I think that was so important because going up through FSU, I was really overly probably fetishizing the technical. What it like, oh, this is good painting because this is what has been good painting for like, you know, 1,000 years, rather than actually kind of dissecting how it communicates with the dialogue of 21st century, you know, painting. So I think that allowed me to, you know, it was a struggle to really figure that out, but once I did, I feel like it was an amazing decision.
Okay. So while you were in college, were you very political with your art?
Yeah.
You were?
Near the end, I think I started I started grad school in the fall of 2016, and we all know what happened then. So yeah, I think, you know, we just tried to ignore it and be like, oh, it can't be that bad, and then it got pretty bad. So yeah, I would say in 2019, I would always try to be like, you know, this is just be very meta about it. Maybe speak of like just grander ideas and archetypes, and, you know, maybe be a little bit just overly vague, but, you know, I feel like I really wanted to communicate with the time, so I started being more specific by way of like actually grabbing, you know, scenes from what was going on around me, and, you know, melding and creating the story, and
You get a lot of your
visualizing
imagery from YouTube, or?
Yeah, so a lot of imagery from, you know, just user uploaded social media, whether it's TikTok or YouTube. What I would do is a lot of these paintings, this is right at the beginning of COVID, and this was fall of 2020. Yeah, I would go to areas. I would start with the 2016 New York Times voter map, and you can zoom into areas on that, and you can go to places that were like 90% blue next to 90% red, and like, where were these places? And I would go there, type them into Google. What are their stories? Find people who live there. Go to their social media, you know, profiles. Look at their stories and like take snapshots from them. What were they dealing with? There was a lot of, you know, pain and disaster, economic strife, and, you know, we all like to be gaslit that it was so good back, you know, under Trump by, you know, the propaganda machines. It wasn't, you know, that's what caused
Well, let me ask you this before you go on. Do you feel like you being political with your art, do you feel like you could ever change anybody's opinion with that?
Well, interesting. I don't know. Like, you can't change.
I know you're expressing how you feel.
Yeah.
But when you try to, it's easier to convince somebody of something than to unconvince them of something. You know that.
Correct. So, you know, you can argue all day long. You can argue and argue and argue. You're not going to change anyone else. Okay? Like, right now we live in a society where you're just going to want to win. You just want to win. No matter what. No matter if you're dead effing wrong. You know, God forbid, you know, we're not we're too proud to admit we were subjects of, and we're too smart to be propagandized too. Well, how do you really convince somebody? How do you really talk to somebody and make them change their mind? You have to tell a story. I think Ken Burns said that, and
The last speech he made?
Yeah, it was an incredible speech.
That's something.
And yeah, you have to tell a story, and I feel like you do. And when I had my work up at the Gestural Art Fair, for example, like a lot of people coming through. I had people coming in, Blue Lives Matter, MAGA shirt, coming in and saying, you know what, man, you get it. You get it. Have you ever been mugged? Like, you know what it's like to be out there and like feel like the anger and like the street. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I guess, but like, I think their values, we all share the same values as Americans, but, some people have had their, perspectives warped by, I think, a complicit media that works in a system to try
Let's
to
back up.
Anyway, backing up, I'm going on my rants, but.
No, what I'm saying is, you're saying Trump people would look at your paintings
Yeah.
and they would get a positive for them.
Yeah.
They saw it as imagery that you were showing the same thing that they see.
And you know what? Brought him into my tent, and then we can have a little discussion. And then you know what? Wow. Okay, because you have to hook them, right? And then you have to tell that story.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have. Other times, like I've had paintings that were more over the, more on the nose. Not so much. Like there was my one called Miss 9/11 that was at Skyway in 2001, and my friend was telling me he was just there visiting randomly. He saw some guy, with his family, real all-American family, probably was a January 6th later that year, but like he was just got so mad at it, like was yelling, be like, I can't believe this, going to each of my paintings being like, oh, I can't believe this.
How wonderful.
I know, so that
How
also
wonderful.
made me really proud. So
Yeah.
yes, I mean, I do want to tell a story.
Sure.
And
Listen, emotion like that?
I know, right? I mean, it means it's doing something, and that's what's important.
So we're going to veer here a little bit to what do you think the big difference between outsider art and academia art really is? I mean, what do you think the real struggle between the two of those are?
I don't know. I think both have a real appreciation for each other. Just kind of, what your background is, where you come into, how you've been, introduced and navigated the art world. Some people have the privilege of, having an academic background and, are so steeped in theory. Others just are so raw about it and don't need that. And I don't see them in conflict at all, if that's your question.
Yeah. Okay. So where do you see your art going in the next couple of years? Are you going to stay very political? Because I know you also do stuff for the climate too.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
mean, that is
political, right?
everything's political, right? Everything is, but like I try not to be so on the nose. This one behind me is going to be the most on the nose. That was in the fall of 2020, and yeah, I'm doing one now. A couple, like right now, I'm working on one. I had this idea of this whole caravan going down to the border and they just like stood around and shuffled around and did nothing. I had this idea of like Rembrandt's Night Watch with all these like MAGA people just like, yeah, we're gonna go, and what? So like there's kind of just like funny ways that I can tell a story that are more so snapshots of the time we're in that are political, but then again you can't throw a rock without being political, and I guess that's why you eventually throw rocks, is politics have gotten so outrageous and unbearable.
So what's your first memory of art and e-work? I know you teach art at HCC, correct?
Yep.
And do you remember younger being here in Igor with art? What's the first memory of art you had?
Yeah, I think pretty much just coming here as a student, and sometimes I would skip class and just like mill around here and not really do much, and I didn't really see it. There was one gallery up the road here, and I would drop by, but I think just being in the place, like, it was so interesting and fascinating to see such a convergence of different people and different, like,
That's
from
what I love
every
about
strata. Yeah, it is an extremely stratified and like intermingled place that I love I love it being kind of scummy. I love it being both like a place of history and edgy, yeah. And granted, it does have a crime profile, but also there's so much more beauty around it too. And I'm not saying like the crime has to be part of that, but there also has to be a way for people to let loose and be able to, at the club districts and all that. Yeah, it can be a little bit grimy and stuff, but I'm not participating. I'm just observing. I'm loving people live their life.
So let's turn to something else here. You have an invention of paint that you came up with, that you have a company. Can you tell people about that?
Okay, let me start with for that. So yeah, I do. I did start a company where we do premium body art makeup. But actually, how did I get there? Probably with this. So basically, my entire art process, I really wanted to get really technical with my paint, probably over fetishizing it, right? Like, I'm gonna find all these old like mediums, I'm gonna like reproduce all of these old techniques and try to find that secret recipe that makes me paint like the old masters and all that. No, turns out all the old masters did was just be good painters. There's no secret recipe. Instead, what it did allow me to do is like really appreciate and recognize how you can make art materials work for you. You don't have to work for the art materials. You don't have to pay $60 for like a tiny little tube of cobalt blue, and you can actually make so much better paintings, and you can actually make the materials expressive in a way that works towards your style. So my third year is kind of like a Hail Mary pass. Like my oil paintings were dead, they were ugly, they were hard to get into, but my professors were like, look, Eric, we just like your drawings. Like, I showed them a lot of my drawings. I had a lot
I've
of
seen your
drawings.
sketch pads, are good.
Yeah. So and they would be like, we just like this more. Like, why aren't you doing this? Maybe you should be a drawer. And me, I'm a painter. What are you talking about? So instead, what I wanted to do was like find a medium that I can paint like I draw. Expressive, like mark slash this that. And what I did was I created this medium. It's a modification of egg tempera that allows me to paint with egg tempera is a very layered meat. It's very laborious, it's used for icons, and it has history to it. I don't want to paint like that. I wanted to paint like watercolors with the density of and luminosity of oils, but I wanted the expressiveness of acrylic, and I wanted all this. How do I do that? So I created this, and it's a mixture of some secret herbs and spices, but basically egg yolk that's been melted in with a type of flexible resin, then with my pigment concentrations that allows me to paint like this. And what it does is it allows me to paint more expressively. Like, I can draw with it, I can paint with it, I can layer with it, and I can push, I can pull, I can glaze, all of that. Wash, glaze, all of that. And you don't lose any of the richness, you don't lose any of the saturation, but you can also selectively desaturate. Like, a lot of my paintings just want to be desaturated. I tried to make that look like you just came out of the pool and you have chlorine in your eyes. So yeah,
I've already looked at it.
Yeah, you've already looked at it, you guys. So anyway, I did kind of take that and the idea of like how can I make my materials work for me? Well, going through art school, I made a lot of side income by doing a lot of painting for go-go dancers and clubs. I airbrush their dancers and all that. And the products out there were really awful. They were full of alcohol. I said, I'm gonna fix this.
They were toxic.
Yeah, they were toxic. Basically, not cool with OSHA standards. So I was able to get a grant and some seed funding to develop a product. But yeah, pretty much does the same thing. I wanted my materials to work for me, so I made something better. And anyways, that's called Undine Creator Cosmetics. But
And also, you had sort of a side market for deer hunters. Was that it?
oh yeah, and the military. Yeah, so it also makes a good camo paint.
It does. I've seen you use it like way before. Yeah. So since we've lost, he was with me at Art Colony up here, and we lost that space, of course. So once you've been moved out of there, or have your paintings like mine gotten smaller? Have you had to do smaller paintings?
Yeah, just got a tiny patio. This is about as big as it gets now. Until I find another place, but the economy as it is,
Yeah.
we'll see if that ever happens.
It will. It will. I've had many studios here somewhere, so I'm sure another one will pop up.
All right.
You recently got married to Kat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How's you like married life?
A beautiful wife, Kat. Yeah, we were making it work.
I know. And now you were recently at Sarasota for the Ringling Brothers because you're in the Skyway show for the second time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that experience. What do you think of the Skyway show? I mean, it's very good exposure, of course.
Yeah.
Has it been a good experience? As good as the first time?
We'll see. Like my work, they've selected 3 rather large paintings. It's going to be a different show. So last time.
Tell what your paintings are going to be.
Yeah. So most of these paintings like were actually in that show. I think the last one, and that was at the Ringling. I had 14 paintings there, and I was, it was a really incredible experience. I was, blessed to be there in that, especially such a historic and meaningful space. This time around, I'm going to be with a lot of other very, accomplished artists producing some really interesting contemporary work.
Where is this?
This will be at the Contemporary Art Museum at USF.
Now, were you in the magazine that just came out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I saw that. I saw your name in there.
Mm-hmm.
And John Gerbach was in there too, yeah.
Yeah, I need to get my hands on that.
You didn't get a copy down there in Sarasota?
I did not, but I think
That's probably because John took them home.
probably.
Possibly. I don't know how he gave me one. He was handing them out. So. And now there's going to be a book coming out from the show, correct? Have you received that yet?
Yep.
So that'll be something to keep too. That'll be very
Yeah, I was on the cover of the 2001 one.
You were?
I was.
Yeah.
It's a big feather in my cap.
So far, what's the biggest show other than Skyway you've been in, you think?
That's it. I've had a couple of shows, small gallery shows, local, but I'm actually really bad at self-promotion and marketing, and that's something I really need to work on. I recommend any artist who can take any advice from me is to don't schlep on that, like get out marketing.
Yeah. I've never been good at it.
It's the hardest part.
I'm the anti-marketer guy. I'll insult people before I.
Yeah,
So-
well, you're just curmudgeon-y.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little curmudgeon. That's okay though. I don't mind. So, like I said, do you do anything in art besides painting? I mean, I know you draw. Do you do any sculpture? Do you do any pottery? Have you ever done anything of that nature?
Yeah. Never really, was that captivating for me.
Have you learned to be a photographer doing your own work?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've actually did a lot of photography for a while. Black and white, color, darkroom as well.
So you take your own pictures of your.
Yep.
So to submit the shows, you do your own photography.
Yeah, I have to rent the equipment, but I know my way around a DSLR.
Is there anywhere you'd like to have a show other than America? If you could have a show anywhere in the world, where would you have? Because your parents are from originally Spain, is that correct?
Grandparents.
Or from Spain, correct?
Spain and Italy.
So have you been there?
And yep. My wife's from there.
She's from Spain?
Yep. Yeah, born. Turns out we're from the same town, and which we should look into that. It was a couple generations back, so I'm not worried.
You believe in reincarnation? Maybe that's the way it works.
I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. I think wherever people would find interest in what I have to say, I think right now the entire world is looking at America being like, yo, what the fuck? And if I can perhaps maybe provide some sort of background to that, maybe also questioning what the fuck, but providing some sort of context for them, that'd be great.
Before we go, who would you say was your main influences in art? I mean, can you drop any famous names for us that you think really influenced you in a way?
I think, I've gone through several stages of my art, like trying to figure out who I want to be, what I want to do. And like, I think, back when I was a kid, I just loved MC Escher because, oh wow, it was so cool, right? And then when I got older, like maybe in undergrad, I was really into the Northern European Renaissance or the dynamic Baroque, the Rubens or whatever, very like expressive and technical. I would also like later just kind of, forget trying to be more, talking to digital media, memes or whatever. And
So you might branch out and do more digital art.
yeah, and then like now I think I'm trying to maybe speak more in the line of like maybe Gustave Courbet, like the realists, the French realists, trying to just quote from reality, but also my paintings are not necessarily quoted in reality. Some of them are, some of them aren't. And it's up to you to figure out. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's all fake news anyway, so we can just make our own reality now. So I guess just kind of like contemporary.
Well, we've always made our own reality.
Yeah, it's true. So what is real? Like
reality is your
unrealistic-
perception of what reality is. And when your reality doesn't match everybody's reality, then you have to take medication. That's just the way it works.
And I'm on it. Right?
Is there anything else you want to tell people? What's coming up for you other than the Skyway show right now?
Applying for a couple things. Getting a lot of thank you for applying, but we've had a lot of
Yeah.
I don't have the heart to read the whole paragraph, so I click delete. Doesn't matter. It was written by a robot anyway. So I'll let you know when something comes up.
I was looking at AI the other day and I'm thinking about, you know what? If I need an agent, why don't I just put what I need into AI, tell it to find the shows that it think my art would fit with, and apply to these shows. I was thinking about the other day, what do you think of that idea?
From the technical, I don't think they update their pool of data enough to be that close. So you still have to
People
do
are
it.
using them for stocks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you had any dealings with AI so far?
Yeah, I mean, I use it. I just feel it as an aggregate. So a lot of times, like, what was I doing? I was scouring the interwebs for, data points, or what were people doing? How were they showing? What were they doing? And I think AI is just an aggregate of an aggregate of an aggregate. Sometimes it just makes it easier. And so yeah, would I ask AI to make a composition for me? No, because they also can make everything really simple. You can tell a mid-journey image because they follow the golden ratio, and eventually
that's true, they do.
everything is going
I never thought of
to
it.
be recycled. Like sometimes we're just recycling the same data points, and but what I will do is take a lot of my images that I take, and I'll upload them and like make AI come
You're
up
not
with
feeling you're
interesting
adding to the
compositions.
machine, your style?
No, like it's my photography, it's my street photography, it's mixing this with that, and like I would do that in Photoshop on my own. I still do. Like I'll take that. And it's
not
just
your
another
thing.
tool. It's just another tool. And I also teach. I teach digital art, and I teach my students. Like it doesn't have to really mean anything other than a really cool asset for you to utilize. It's still pretty dumb. Like people are thinking about, this is the apocalypse. John Connor is really mad right now, but no.
When you get
It's
older,
just an
when
asset.
people get older, the first thing they think is, "Oh, the world's coming to an end." Well, yeah, your world is because you're getting older.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. So I
You need to
mean,
move on, let them change.
it's already passé. Like even talking about AI now is just like, oh yeah, that thing. I mean, it's all right. It
I
finishes a sentence. We've already used it forever, right? Like talk to Siri. What Siri knows.
But people ask me, they say, would you vote for Trump? I said, if I thought for 1 second he would give America health care, I probably would.
Yeah.
But you can't believe it.
Well, the dangerous thing about a lot of people is some people think he will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who are on the dole, who are, on the
Desperate.
desperate, and they see nothing but the golden savior because
Rich senators.
I don't know.
So, is there anything else you want to tell us about art before we go?
No.
Okay. This has been Eric's interview. Contact Marcolina for any reason. We have plenty of t-shirts. We have a lot of things going on here in Ybor. She just started on Tuesday nights. Tuesday nights, she just started open mic night. Make sure you come down there. We have Monday nights. We have a drawing class. I'm usually teaching, or at least drinking here. And just come on down to Marcolina's anytime you hear a show. We have a good time. Last time we had a masquerade ball. Thank you for showing up. Hope to see you next time. Who I think is going to be a very interesting interview. Please show up. Thank you.